Good evening. Yes, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Wilmette Public Library Board of Library Trustees, our regular meeting. It is Tuesday, June 17th, and the time is 2025, and the time is 6:30 p.m. We'll now have a roll call, and Vice President Cox, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Trustee Biederman?
Here.
Trustee Cox is here. Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Fishman?
Here.
Trustee Mullman?
Here.
Trustee Pasco?
Here.
And Trustee Senate?
Here. Very good, thank you. Anyone this evening who would like to make a public comment and who has signed the registration form at the back of the room? All right, thank you. We'll move on. No presentations this evening. And now Treasurer Biederman, may we have the Treasurer's report, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
You've all received information, and I believe later in this meeting we'll be discussing the budget. But so the budget was discussed, and certain decisions were made, which will be forthcoming. I have reviewed the financials, and they are accurate through the end of May. There's a couple of call-outs that Anthony and Sandra have given. There's some expenses that, due to timing, a couple of them are doubled up, and some that are going to be falling into June. So there's some timing issues that are not a big deal, because once we look at the entirety of the year, it's going to include all 12 months. We have they presented the CDs or some information on expenses, which I've reviewed. They appear to be recurring expenses, and I'm going to be meeting with Sandra to review our CDs that we have in our inventory for both the general fund and the special reserve. So that's something we're going to be meeting on, I believe, later this week. But other than that, we've been given, we have our P&L through May, and it's still being projected when looking at a 12-month to be about a break even. So it's good that we're not in the red, and we can discuss in later dates top side of the P&L at later dates and what we can do with that. But unless there's other questions, that's a summary of what we've covered in the past four weeks.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve bills and salaries and check detail for May 2025 as presented?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
I second.
And I'm sorry, that was, thank you. Motion has been brought forth by Trustee Biederman and seconded by Trustee Senate. Thank you. And may we have a roll call, please? Trustee Cox?
Trustee Biederman?
Approve.
Trustee Cox, yes. Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Mullman?
Yes.
Trustee Pasco?
Yes.
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
And Trustee Fishman?
Yes, thank you. Approval has been given for the bills and salaries check detail for May 2025 as presented. I was remiss that we did not, I skipped, that we must go back and review in our agenda, review the draft of the May 20th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes. Any comments or corrections to those minutes?
I have just one small edit on page 4, at the top there, in section A, it's review of May 9th, and it should be 2025 Finance Committee meeting.
Yes.
Just a
Thank
typo.
you. Little typo.
Very perceptive.
Good catch. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you. May we have a motion to approve the May 20th 2025 regular board meeting minutes with a correction on page 4, at the top of page 4, section A, review of the May 9th, 2025 Finance Committee meeting.
I move approval of the May 20, 2025 regular board meeting minutes as corrected.
Thank you. Trustee Senate, motion to approve. Is there a second,
I have a
please?
Second.
Okay. Trustee Biederman, thank you. We will now move on to a roll call, please.
Trustee Biederman?
Approve.
Trustee Cox, yes. Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Mulman?
Yes.
Trustee Pasco?
Yes.
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
And Trustee Fishman?
Yes, thank you. The minutes from draft May, the draft of the minutes from May 20th, 2025 regular board meeting have been approved as amended. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to our action items, and that action item is a discussion and approval of our annual budget for fiscal year 2025-26. The Finance Committee met on June 9th, 2025 to conduct their second review of the draft annual budget for year 25-26. The Finance Committee recommends approval of the for year 2025-26 budget as presented in the attachment totaling $6,754,870. And I have a few comments just to begin, and then we'll move on to any comments, any additional comments. After the June 9th Finance Committee meeting to further discuss the year 25-26 working budget, a few changes were made to reflect the following. During our closed personnel session, the board and the library's HR and finance managers discussed how Wilmette Public Library must stay competitive with other local libraries when addressing staff recruitment and retention. Therefore, discussions led to board consensus to amend the personnel budget to reflect a 3.5% increase in salary compensation from the originally proposed 3%. This increase adds less than $16,000 to the total budget. And I hope I speak for the board that we would like to reinforce how we value our staff and want to compensate them for their excellent and exceptional work. Additional point is that changes to the first draft of the budget included contract increases for equipment and computer maintenance along with building maintenance contracts. Both are amended in this 25-26 budget we have in our packet. This is a trend that we anticipate will probably grow in the coming years. Based on the projected results for the 24-25 year using 11 months actual plus the 1 month forecast, it appears that our library budget will break even or even have a small surplus. And the board will continue to monitor the budget throughout the year. I'd like to commend Director Austin and Finance Manager Sandra DiCeppo with their continued strong financial management. Thank you. So those are my remarks. Any other comments or discussion since our finance meeting on the 9th?
I'll just make a comment in terms of, yeah, again, as we just noted, that we had projected a $300,000 deficit for this year, and we are breaking even. That gave me confidence in, even though we are still projecting a deficit for this year of about $150,000 or so. My hope is that it'll follow a similar trend as last year in that it will hopefully break even. But to your point, President Fishman, that we need to monitor that throughout the year because as we've come to learn over the last few years that this deficit spend, or we're not deficit spending this year, which is great, but that we can't deficit spend. So just glad to approve the budget in the current form, but just with a very watchful eye on expenses and revenue as we move through the year. But yeah, and again, really grateful to the staff for the very careful review of each budget item this year, because I know that took time and effort to look at each each and every line item. And the fact that your expenses in those line items were able to either stay flat and very careful reductions that were well thought out in terms of what value they were bringing or not bringing to the library. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Is there a, seeing none then, may I have a motion to approve the Wilmette Public Library District General Operating Budget for fiscal year 2025-26, totaling $6,754,870 as presented.
I move approval of the Wilmette Public Library District General Operating Budget for fiscal year 2025 to 2026, totaling $6,754,870 as presented.
Thank you. Trustee Mulman, is there a second?
I second.
Okay. The motion has been presented by Trustee Mulman and seconded by Trustee Biederman. Thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Biederman?
Yes.
Trustee Cox? Yes. Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Mulman?
Yes.
Trustee Pesco?
Yes.
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
And Trustee Fishman?
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. We'll now go on to our second point of action items, the review of our closed session minutes in accordance with 5 ILCS 120/2.06. The board will approve the release of the following closed session minutes: September 20th, 2022, September 23rd, 2023, May 29th, 2024, March 18th, 2025, and June 9th, 2025. And approve the destruction of the verbatim audio recordings of the associated meetings over 18 months old. And that includes September 20th, 2022, and September 23rd, 2023. Director Austin, would you like to elaborate?
Sure. As a matter of procedure, the library may hold a closed session for a number of reasons. The minutes are in the packet and show the meetings that we had. We retain verbatim recordings of all of our closed sessions, and we can elect to hold meeting minutes as confidential or to open them up for the public. And in this instance, we've gone through all of our closed session minutes that have not yet been released and have determined that these are all eligible for release, and they're in your packet. And this is a procedure that we should conduct annually, and we've missed a couple of these procedures, so we are going to renew this process and make sure that this one doesn't fall through the cracks going forward. And as a result, we also threw in our most recent closed session so that we could close the fiscal year with all of our closed sessions accounted for in this fiscal year. So what we're asking for this evening is to release those minutes that are in the packet as presented, and then to follow up with the destruction of those audio recordings for those that are the oldest of the lot.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the release of the following closed session minutes as presented?
I move approval of the release of the following closed session minutes: September 20, 2022, September 23, 2023, May 29th, 2024, March 18th, 2025, and June 9th, 2025, as presented.
Thank you, Trustee Senate. Is there a second, please?
I second.
Thank you. Trustee Pasco? And may we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Biederman?
Yes.
Trustee Cox? Yes. Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Mulman?
Yes.
Trustee Pasco?
Yes.
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
And Trustee Fishman?
Yes. Motion to approve. Thank you. The release of the following closed sessions. Do I have to say those all again?
You're good.
Okay, thank you. And as presented. Thank you. We do have another motion to approve the destruction of the verbatim audio recordings of eligible closed meetings over 18 months. September 20th, 2022, 2022, and September 23, 2023. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the destruction of the verbatim audio recordings?
Motion to approve the verbatim audio recordings that are over 18 months, September 20th, 22, and September 23rd, 23.
Thank you. Trustee Biederman, is there a second, please?
Second.
Trustee Mulman, thank you. May we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Biederman?
Yes.
Trustee Cox? Yes. Trustee DiLorenzo is absent. Trustee Mulman?
Yes.
Trustee Pasco?
Yes.
Trustee Senate?
Yes.
And Trustee Fishman?
Yes, thank you. We have approved the destruction of the verbatim audio recordings of eligible closed meetings over 18 months old, September 20th, 22, and September 23rd, 23. Motion passed. Moving along, may we have the director's report, please?
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right, I have quite a few things I want to share with you all, so I'm going to try to get through all of my prepared notes and then take any of your questions or comments. I'm going to share more about all of our exciting June programming at next month's report, but I did want to celebrate the official start to summer. That is the beginning of the summer reading program, and that began this past Saturday with our Summer Reading Club kickoff party, which was held on the library lawn on Saturday, June 14th. And we had over 300 eager and excited patrons who showed up for our all-ages program on the lawn, including Mr. Scott's Giant Bubble Show, and a rockin' performance by the Jolly Ringwalds, complete with delicious Kona ice to keep it all cool. Over 100 patrons made their way through the studio over the course of 2 hours that afternoon as well to create and make fun drop-in activities that we had planned for them there. Staff made it a wonderful success, all courtesy of the generous funding from our friends of the Wilmette Public Library. Thank you, friends. As you may know, our library summer reading clubs are for everyone, and we have an exciting and engaging array of programs and prizes for all. All finishers of our program will receive a free book of their choice. You just need to simply track your reading this summer in one of our reading logs to earn prizes, and you can learn more by visiting our website for more details. And we've got a lot of associated programs and events for the summer. And we've been getting the word out. Staff have been busy designing the program and doing outreach about the program, and you'll see in my report that beyond our regular publicity channels, staff have been conducting outreach and engagement to get our community excited, whether it's at partner agencies, at the Kenilworth Food Truck Mondays, and beyond. We're making sure that this is going to be one of our biggest summers yet. Our school engagement librarian, Etty Berland, and partners from adult, teen, youth, and digital maker services connected with over 3,000 students in our community, including District 39, Avoca, our first time with St. Francis Xavier, and at Sears School. We look forward to seeing everyone at the Wilmette, in the Wilmette and Kenilworth communities at the library this summer. And I also want to give a shout out while I'm talking about the Friends, that the Friends are holding a pop-up shop on Saturday, June 28th, beginning at 9:30 on the entry plaza of the library. So come help support the Friends and all of the generous funding that they provide to our programming. All right, so on to some highlights from May. The library saw over 22,000 visitors in May, averaging 745 unique users to the library each day. We welcomed 154 new card holders, including 17 new District 39 student cards. We circulated over 51,000 items in May, averaging 1,700 items, physical items in circulation. And we saw another extraordinarily high rate of circulation in our Overdrive and Libby collections in May, with nearly 21,000 items checked out. 2024-25 has been an absolutely remarkable year for us with Overdrive. And digital circulation accounts for nearly 30% of our total circulation to date. As I mentioned at last month's meeting, Explore More has a new feature, and Explore More Illinois saw its highest usage ever this past month, with 52 free admission passes checked out for Gilson Swimming Beach. Our overall total for Explore More Illinois checkouts is 82, but 52 of those checkouts were in May alone, owing in part to Gilson Swimming Beach, which is now our second most popular attraction with Wilmette card holders behind the Chicago Children's Museum. As reported last month, Wilmette Park District has partnered with the statewide library program Explore More to provide area beachgoers to enjoy free admission to Gilson Swimming Beach just by using your library card. And you can learn more about this by logging onto the Park District's website where they're promoting it, or you can go to the library's website and look for our Explore More and Museum Passes page to learn more about the program and to check out a pass. All right, so some other highlights and updates from my report. Our collection maintenance projects continued in force this month. As you know, we've challenged our staff since May of 2024 to reduce and right-size the collection. And the collection has thus been reduced in size from approximately 230,000 items to 190,000 items here at the end of May, which is an overall reduction of 17%. And our goal this year was 20%, so we have substantially completed that goal. And the target of this project is items primarily that have issues with condition, lack of demand, obsolescence, and the physical limitations of space. The primary target for a lot of our activity has been the maintenance of the nonfiction collection on the lower level. And that project is nearing its completion with just reaching its final 3 categories, which once complete will allow for the adult nonfiction collections to be unified along the south side of the lower level, including a new, more logical layout plan for those collections. That project is going to facilitate the capital improvement project that we have planned for the northwest corner of the lower level later this year. That's the room that we call the 900s room. This summer, we're going to be disassembling all of the shelving in that space, and in an effort to try to replace the 40-year-old carpeting that's in that area. And as you know, that carpeting is on top of some asbestos-containing tile, and so we're going to need to have an attendant asbestos abatement project, which is going to help us to replace that carpeting. And that project is currently out to bid, and we hope that we will be able to recommend the successful bidder for their award, hopefully in July, and get that work slated for early September. We'll share more about that project as we move forward, and I'll give you more information about the asbestos abatement contractor here soon. But later, as I said, later this summer, we're going to be disassembling the contents of the 900s room. The staff is going to be demoing the shelving in that space to help prepare it for that work that's going to take place later. And then all that carpeting is going to be placed in the 900s room, the adjacent corridor, as well as the north stairwell that leads, that connects that corner of the building with the media room above. In the meantime, the staff have a lot of ambitions for those spaces. So staff are planning the next phases of the space enhancements, which will include relocation of collections and services to better meet our community's needs as identified in our space needs assessment last year, as well as providing some refreshed furnishings in various places around the building. Today, we installed 4 new 2-top study tables on the mezzanine, and we're coordinating with an upholsterer to renew some worn seating that's around the first and second floor later this summer. So we've got a lot of plans, and I'll be sharing more detail about how we're going to move forward with those projects here at future meetings. We established our first physical display of the Library of Things collection this past month, and that's currently located adjacent to the circulation desk. And this summer, our reading theme is Level Up, and there's a lot of gaming elements that are incorporated with that. And we are adding a number of board games to our Library of Things collection this summer, so I encourage you to take a look in the catalog and on our website for our Library of Things page to see all of the new additions that are coming to that collection. May has the distinction of being Asian American Pacific Islander Month and the Jewish American Heritage Month, so staff took inspiration to amplify both groups of historically marginalized voices through prominent displays and representative materials for all ages at various points in the collection throughout the library this past month. Some other activities that I'll share from this past month with programming. Adult Services librarian Rachel Rothy partnered with school engagement librarian Etty Berland at the Village of Wilmette's AAPI Heritage Festival. The library table was included on the program Passport as a destination, and more than 120 visitors came to interact with staff and picked up informational flyers, giveaways, and a curated selection of books for adults and children were available for folks to check out at the event. Rachel also facilitated 2 community partner displays in May. Early in the month, she curated information resources, including collection items, to increase awareness of International Compost Awareness Week, which was sponsored by Illinois Food Scrap and Composting Coalition. And that supports the library's strategic plan goal to support sustainability in partnership with the Village of Wilmette. And later in the month, we had an inviting display that amplified not only Mental Health Awareness Month, but also our village's campaign, Wilmette, and as a result of the recent intergovernmental initiative that established the database of local mental health services and resources. And we've got business cards for Wilmette with their contact information and website, and some promotional materials about Wilmette throughout the library. Also in Adult Services, Assistant Manager Rachel Garcia was invited by the American Library Association to give a short presentation on her experience with the 2023 Stories of Exile program. You may recall that we were awarded a grant through the Yiddish Book Center that year and hosted a series of programs, and Rachel summarized her experience with that program with ALA. Our genealogy and local history librarian, Eva Ann Johnson, worked with the Illinois State Historical Records Advisory Board, which afforded a couple leadership opportunities for her this past month. In addition to determining the organizational winners of $28,000 in grants, members visited one of last year's awardees, the Walnut Public Library in Walnut, Illinois, and she's been serving as their library's mentor in their digitization journey. And they celebrated her in a social media post this past month. That's included in my report. And also, our strategic plan goal to digitize, preserve, and enhance access to rare and unique local history resources continued this month, with a substantial amount of our recently digitized newspapers being sent to our Ontario partner, Our Digital World, for importing into our digital newspaper collection. We look forward to being able to announce those resources here soon. And as you may note from our statistics in the packet, that collection is by far one of our most heavily used digital research resources, with nearly 60,000 views this past year, which is on target to surpass last year's highest number to date. So great work on our local history collection. Our Teen Services librarian, Krista Hutley, and School Engagement librarian, Etty Berland, worked together to train and schedule teen volunteers to work in the Youth Services Summer Reading Club booth, as well as to help out with youth and teen programs this season. We have nearly 50 high school students that have signed up to volunteer for the summer. We offered 3 separate orientation sessions that facilitated their training, and we're really grateful for their support. On May 6th through 8th, our community engagement librarian, Sarah Jo Zaharako, attended the first ever national convening on children's racial learning in Chicago. This event, organized by Embrace Race, brought together over 200 leaders across multiple sectors to network, collaborate, and accelerate the field of racial learning. Attendees represented the fields of education, research, children's media, healthcare, technology, philanthropy, and more. And Sarah Jo made many new connections that will help to fuel our future Let's Learn Together programming and create opportunities for collaboration and partnership. In other news, the studio was abuzz with activity in May, with nearly 600 individuals using the space this month. And Lauren's provided a snapshot of some of those creative projects that folks are working on in this popular space, along with some choice bits of feedback from patrons, including the statement, "This is my girl's favorite place on earth," and we love it too. Just a couple final points. We hosted our first live stream Armchair Travels program, which brought 85 of our patrons to Paris for a virtual tour. And that also helped to facilitate an actual visit when we offered another 4-week session of our Beginning French for the Traveler with a Wilmette resident and retired middle school French teacher, Heather Palmer. And over the course of that 4-week class, registrants wrote a story together and learned to exchange basic pleasantries, had practice using scripts to order at a restaurant or check in at a hotel, and learned about cultural norms. This has been a popular course for us and a great way for patrons to extend their lifelong learning opportunities, both as an intro class on its own and a first step forward in furthering learning opportunities using library resources. I'll add that since our last meeting, our summer newsletter has hit homes. This covers 3 months, June through August. It is chock full of programs and services. I encourage you all to take a look. And if you haven't already, go online and sign up for our online newsletter. We have a number of digital newsletters for various interests, and they highlight late-breaking news and events that may not make it into the print newsletter. And I also encourage you to follow us on social media. That concludes my summary of my report. Does anyone have any questions or comments that they want to pull out?
I just want to mention that the Gilson Swimming Beach passes are good for 6 people.
I was also going to comment about the beach passes, just as a great partnership, knowing that access to Gilson is a community value. And this is just another way to give that access. So glad to see that. Obviously, the word has gotten out with that amount of volume, because I know that's a new program. So that's really encouraging.
My kids really love the Kona ice, so that was really good.
Oh, cool. All right. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good. I was just going to looking at the numbers of the program statistics. When you mentioned the French programs, some programs were, since it's ongoing, but it really struck home that some of the numbers were very good. Beginning French for the traveler, 80. Well, that was a live stream Notre Dame, and virtual was 85 people. To mention. That's great. Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, good. All right. Committee reports. We have ILA and Rails, and that would be Trustee Senate, please. Anything to report?
Yes. So I was elected to a 2-year term on the Rails Board. This Friday is the
Woohoo! Bravo! All right.
This Friday is the last meeting for the fiscal year, and the new fiscal year starts on July 25th, at which time the new trustees or directors will be sworn in. I think there's 6 of us, so they try to rotate it so that it's just a handful, only a portion of the people are new every year. And because I attended the Rails meeting, the last Rails meeting was on May 23rd, most of my updates, well, some of them are up until May 23rd, but I actually am looking at the packet for this Friday because that's going to be more timely. So I don't have a lot more information than what I can tell you, although I did look into some of it. So, so the big things have had to do with funding and the impact of the Trump administration's ideas about funding libraries. There were 2, so the IMLS was starting to be disbanded. There were 2 lawsuits that were filed. One of them was 21 attorneys general the attorneys general from 21 states, one of which is Illinois. And so there was a halt put on the disbanding for the funding to those states. However, there was another lawsuit that was filed by the ALA, and that one was not, that motion was denied. So any states that weren't covered by the Attorney General injunction are not going to have access to their IMLS funding as those cases progress. On May 16th, the Illinois Office of Broadband announced that the U.S. Department of Commerce terminated funding for the Digital Equity Capacity Grant. This was part of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act of 2021. It was designed to close the digital divide in every state by establishing grants to support broadband access and digital skills training for underserved communities. Many libraries were planning to expand existing programs and create new ones to promote and support digital equity, literacy, and inclusion. And with those grants canceled, libraries that had thought they were going to be reimbursed for project costs will no longer be. Rails is working closely with the Illinois Office of Broadband and will continue to share updates. Rails has its own digital equity networking group, and is working on this issue. One thing that'll help alleviate that a little bit, although not quite the same thing, is the Cook County Board of Commissioners voted to approve $850,000 grant to Rails to improve digital equity. It will go towards the design and implementation of a digital navigator network in suburban Cook County public libraries. There's a service of the month that's always featured, and in May, the one that was featured is Rails has a world language cataloging program, which is at no cost to libraries, and that is funded for a grant. So if we were to get some materials in another language, we might have a chance to get some assistance in getting those cataloged. There's a case that was just decided in the Fifth Circuit, which is Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi, which ruled that politicians have the right to remove books from public libraries. This was a case, it's actually an interesting case if anybody likes reading cases. It's kind of an interesting one to read. Just make sure that you read the dissent, because the majority opinion makes it look as though it's just libraries doing their thing with collection, when in fact the dissent points out that the facts were politicians ordered the library to remove certain books, some of which were award-winning books, at the request of people in the community, and then the board was dissolved, and those people who had requested that the book, or ordered, I should say, the books be removed, became part of the new board. So that will likely go up to the Supreme Court. So that's just interesting. Interesting case to follow.
I'm sorry, where was that again?
It was the Fifth Circuit, and it was actually, one of the things that was interesting about it was the district court initially said, no, you can't do that. The appellate court said, no, you can't do that, and then they reheard it en banc, which meant all of the Fifth Circuit judges, and they reversed it. And there is a 30-year precedent. There's actually some Supreme Court law that says you can't do that. And a lot of it had to do with a distinction that was made between the freedom to read, and they're saying that what the Fifth Circuit's decision said was that the selection of books and the removal of books is government speech and is not subject to the First Amendment. So there's a lot of issues wrapped up in it. I'm kind of looking forward to hearing what people have to say. I did take a quick look at it, though. If you're interested in looking at the case, it is, what's it called? Little versus Llano County.
Thank you.
What-
Anything else?
Yeah, just a couple other things.
Sure.
Let's see. Nope, that's okay.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for your presentation. ILA, Dr. Austin?
No report.
Okay. Trustee Senate, back to you, the Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee?
Yes,
Anything?
so the Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee met on May 22nd. There was a little bit of catch-up at the beginning about the Wilmette program. Basically, it accomplished everything it set out to do. So the new project is being called the Civility Project, and this was kind of an organizational meeting in that there were 6 areas that were identified, and all of the people who were on the committee, or rather all of the government units representatives, broke up into small subgroups to look into each of these areas. So right now, the areas that are being looked at are, and then we'll come back in September and regroup and figure out which direction it's going to go in. So the groups right now that are just being looked into are social media, rules of order, civility pledges, campaigns, training, and community. So we probably won't have much more information on that until after this September meeting.
You'll keep us posted. Thank you. Great. Next, just information items that we have comments circulating from our suggestion boxes in the purple folder. We'll keep that going around. And the American Library Association, ALA, Annual Conference, June 26th through 30th in Philadelphia, I believe. And we have staff attending, and there are opportunities for trustees. So that is ala.org, if anyone would like to have more information.
Probably already seen.
Any new business? All right, then it is now, what time is it? Let's see. 7:11. Is there a motion to adjourn, please?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion, thank you. And voice vote is, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. At 7:11, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.